Hello, I'm Hannah Kaplan, and this is the WCS Wild Audio Podcast, where you'll find reported audio stories covering the latest news and newsmakers from WCS's field sites, zoos and aquarium, and their conservation partners. We've got a great show today, so let's get to it. Big cats today face multiple threats, from poaching and habitat loss to snares and human conflict. But also key to their survival is the presence of preferred prey. The WCS Laos program's Akchousanh Rasphone knows which species are prized on the menu of the country's clouded leopards, and one day might help sustain a return of the big guy, as she calls it. Nat Moss has the story.
The big guy you might have guessed is Panthera tigris, or tiger. It became functionally extinct in Laos back around 2013, when the last few individuals disappeared from Namat Puloi National Protected Area. Akchousanh Rasphone led the study that concluded that tigers had been extirpated from her native country. But when she and colleagues recently reviewed data sets and scat samples from 2008 to 2012, they noticed one particular prey species sought by both tigers and their cousin, the vulnerable clouded leopard.
Our results showed that the primary prey for both were wild pig, but then the preferred prey for both species was the mainland sirao. They provide a high-sized food packet that can be killed by female relatively safely to obtain the food at a rate that's sufficient to raise the cubs. You won't have a lot of time going out and try to get like small little prey. If you're a mother, you want to be with your child and not having to go out hunting often. So I think it's very important for the growth for the population.
The sirao is an ungulate species with features resembling both a goat and an antelope. Akchousanh and her colleagues determined that when sirao were not available, both clouded leopards and tigers would opt for abundant wild pig. But when the sirao was an option, they preferred to hunt the larger animal, which provides a more efficient reward for effort energy calculus. For tigers that hunt gaur and other large prey species, the sirao seems like a fitting target. But how can a clouded leopard that tops out at 50 pounds bag a 200-pound sirao? Akchousanh has an explanation.
Clouded leopards, they have the largest canine compared to all the cats in similar size. That canines become a special weapon for them for hunting a larger prey that allows them to just snap the neck of the larger animal. They're very stout build. We have very strong legs, help them to bring the prey back to feed the young.
It would seem that securing a future for sirao should be part of any conservation plan for big cats in Laos, and that means addressing a crisis of snaring.
Snares are indiscriminate of species. You would see a lot of snares in the forest that were mainly to just target anything they could get. So it's quite destructive. It's so easy to set out, and at the same time, it can be very deadly for wildlife population, especially the ground-dwelling species or ungulate species.
Removing snares and interrupting the traffic in wildlife is an ongoing challenge. An active trade in animal parts for medicinal use or for wild meat consumption is emptying the forests of Laos of its wildlife. To confront the challenge requires greater monitoring.
Working in this protected area involves very much the protection of the forest through law enforcement. It's still a challenge with resources and trying to catch up with the rate at which the threat is going. It's a big job for all of us. To try to take out every single snare is almost impossible unless we have a lot of rangers out in the forest. So far, I would say that we don't have nearly enough to take out all these snares or to eradicate all of the threats to wildlife. We still need a lot more rangers and the law enforcement teams to operate in all these important areas of biodiversity in Laos.
It's been a long journey for Akchousanh from her childhood home in Savannakhet Province to the capital city of Vientiane, with stops along the way in Australia for a master's degree in geographical sciences and at Oxford for a PhD in zoology.
Where I grew up, I live near the Mekong River. I was just always like playing outside. We didn't have toys, so we were always playing outside in the forest or in the field nearby the house. So I think it's just kind of automatically you have this sense of familiarity to the nature itself.
It's a familiarity not everyone shares, but Akchousanh is hoping to change that.
A lot of people still don't know what the clouded leopards are. They still don't really know the name in the local language. Even my family knows so little or understands so little about what I do. I have an 8-year-old daughter who was learning how to read. And also I would like her to understand what I do. I wrote a children's book on endangered or important wildlife species of Laos. When I was writing it, I was also thinking, how I was growing up, reading materials was just so rare. We didn't get any children's books. It's so nice to have a project like that to just providing opportunity for children and make it available for kids in the rural area who don't have a chance to get access to this kind of materials. And I thought of myself, like I wish there was something like that back then.
In my first conversation with Akchousanh, she mentioned that her father had created her name from 3 words. Ak, which refers to a cotton spindle, Chu, which refers to the point of contact between that spindle and its top, and San, which is the top part. Taken together, the spindle touches the top, which Akchousanh translates as the word complete. And I can't help thinking that this is a great metaphor for the dogged commitment she has undertaken to protect the wildlife of Laos. For WCS Wild Audio, this is Nat Moss.
The WCS Wild Audio Podcast is a production of the Wildlife Conservation Society. Stories reported and produced by Nat Moss, web production by Dan Rosen, with additional production and audio engineering by me, Hannah Kaplan. Please like, rate, or review the show wherever you get your podcasts, and email us at nmoss@wcs.org with questions and suggestions for future episodes.